Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me. And then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
Welcome to this online worship service of Neshoba Unitarian Universalist Church. I am the Reverend Beth Lefever, pleased and privileged, as always, to serve as minister of this congregation, and I am so very happy that you have chosen to join with us this morning. Our opening words are by Barbara Hamilton-Holway. There is a love that restores the soul, a love that makes all things new, a love that will not ever let us go. May we trust in that love. May we rest and be held by that love, even when we cannot believe it exists. Love is all around us, among us, inside us. May love speak through our lips and hear through our ears, now and always. Let us be in worship together. And now Elaine Orland will light our chalice.
Flame of fire, spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral heart. Agent of life and death, symbol of truth and freedom, we strive to understand ourselves and our earthly home. Please join us in our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Good morning. Today's book is Knights of the Pufflings. Pufflings? They're little baby puffins, and everyone loves puffins. And something else I like about this book, it's about children and how they can do important things. This is full of photographs by Bruce McMillan, because this is a true story. And we start on Hamilton-Holway Island in the country of Iceland in April. Halla searches the sky every day. As she watches from high on a cliff overlooking the sea, she spots her first puffin of the season. She whispers to herself, Lunda, which means puffin in Icelandic. Soon the sky is speckled with them. Puffins, puffins everywhere. Millions of these birds are returning from their winter at sea. They're coming back to Halla's Island and the nearby uninhabited islands to lay eggs and raise puffin chicks. It's the only time they come ashore. While Hotla and her friends are at school in the village beneath the cliff, the puffins continue to land. Once back, they busy themselves getting their underground nests ready, the burrows that they use every year. Hotla and all the children of Hamai can only wait and dream of the nights of the Pufflings yet to come. On the weekends, Hotla and her friends climb over the cliffs to watch the birds. They see puffin pairs tap, tap, tap their beaks together. Each pair they see will soon tend an egg. Deep inside the cliffs, that egg will hatch a chick. That chick will grow into a young puffling, and that puffling will take its first flight. The nights of the pufflings will come. In the summer, while Hotla splashes in the cold ocean water, the puffins also splash. The sea below the cliffs is dotted with puffins bobbing in the waves. Many of the puffins that ride the waves close to shore are young. The older birds usually fly out to sea where the fishing's better. The grown-up puffins have to catch lots of fish because now that it's summer, they're feeding more than just themselves. Hotla's friend, Adnar Ingi, spies a puffin overhead. Fisk, he whispers as he gazes at the returning puffin's bill full of fish. The puffin eggs have hatched, and the parents are bringing home fish to feed their chicks. The nights of the pufflings are still long weeks away, but Arnar Ingi thinks about getting some cardboard boxes ready. Hotla and her friends never see the chicks. Only the chicks' parents see them. The baby puffins never come out. They stay safely hidden in the long, dark tunnels of their burrows. But Hotla and her friends hear them calling out for food. Peep, peep, peep. The growing chicks are hungry. Their parents have to feed them, sometimes 10 times a day, and carry many fish in their bills. All summer long, the adult puffins fish and tend to their feathers. By August, flowering baldersbro blankets the burrows. With the baldersbro in full bloom, Hotla knows the wait is over. The hidden chicks have grown into young pufflings. The pufflings are ready to fly and will at last venture out into the night. Now it's time. It's time for Hotla and her friends to get out their boxes and flashlights for the nights of the pufflings. Starting tonight and for the next 2 weeks, the pufflings will be leaving for their winter at sea. Hotla and her friends will spend each night searching for stranded pufflings that don't make it to the water. But the village cats and dogs will be searching too. It will be a race to see who finds the stray pufflings first. By 10 o'clock, the streets of Hamai are alive with roaming children. In the darkness of night, the pufflings leave their burrows for their first flight. It's a short wing-flapping trip from the high cliffs. Most of the birds splash land safely in the sea below. But some get confused by the village lights. Perhaps they think the lights are moonbeams reflecting on the water. Hundreds of the pufflings crash land in the village every night. Unable to take off from flat ground, they run around and try to hide. Dangers await. Even if the cats and dogs don't get them, the pufflings might get run over by cars and trucks. Hotla and her friends race to the rescue. Armed with their flashlights, they wander through the village. They search dark places. Hadla calls out, "Puffling," in Icelandic. "Lundi Pishjar," she spotted one. When the puffling runs down the street, she races after it, grabs it and nestles it in her arms. Arnaringi catches one too. No sooner are the pufflings safe in the cardboard boxes than more of them land nearby. "Lundi Pishjar, Lundi Pishjar." For 2 weeks, all the children of Hamai sleep late in the day so they can stay out at night. They rescue thousands of pufflings. There are pufflings everywhere, and helping hands too, even though the pufflings instinctively nip at helping fingers. Every night, Hadla and her friends take the rescued pufflings home. The next day, they send their guests on their way. Hadla meets her friends, and with the boxes full of pufflings, they hike down to the beach. It's time to set the pufflings free. Hadla releases one first. She holds it up so that it will get used to flapping its wings. Then, with the puffling held snugly in her hands, she counts. Ein, Var, Dir, as she swings the puffling 3 times between her legs. The last swing is the highest, launching the bird up in the air and out over the water beyond the surf. It's only the second time this puffling has flown, so it flutters just a short distance before safely splash landing. Day after day, Hadla's pufflings paddle away until the nights of the pufflings are over for the year. As she watches the last of the pufflings and adult puffins leave for their winter at sea, Hadla bids them farewell until next spring. She wishes them a safe journey as she calls out, "Goodbye, goodbye," in Icelandic. "Bless, bless." Now, Iceland isn't the only place where people help some of the pufflings get to shore or where pufflings are hatched. All around the northern Atlantic, this can happen. And if you want to go online and Google Puffin Patrol, you can see a film of Hamai just a couple years ago and the children saving puffins. And if you go to explore.org, there are a lot of webcams, including one that shows inside a puffin burrow.
Lee Reid has written, "We are called forth to join our energies, our talents, our skills, our strength, to join our spirits, our souls in the life work of building the beloved community right here, right now, every day." Our morning offering will now be shared with deep gratitude. Both of my readings this morning are excerpted from the book, The Prophetic Imperative, Social Gospel in Theory and Practice by Richard S. Gilbert. Albert Schweitzer illustrates this solidarity with a homely anecdote. A flock of wild geese had settled to rest on a pond. One of the flock was captured by a gardener who clipped its wings before releasing it. When the geese started to resume their flight, this one tried frantically but vainly to lift itself into the air. The others, observing his struggles, flew about in obvious efforts to encourage him, but it was no use. Thereupon, the entire flock settled back on the pond and waited until the damaged feathers had grown out sufficiently to permit the goose to fly. Meanwhile, the unethical gardener, having been converted by the ethical geese, gladly watched them as they finally rose together and all resumed their long flight. In the second reading, it was standard procedure in wartime to have a runner who moves among the platoons gathering intelligence. On one occasion, a particular runner returned to report to the commander. "Well, how does it look?" he was asked. The runner, an irrepressible optimist, replied enthusiastically, "We can attack in any direction, sir. We're surrounded." We can attack in any direction. We're surrounded. It sure does feel that way sometimes, doesn't it? From the state of the world and the state of the nation to the state of our own hearts and souls and lives, it just sometimes feels like we're surrounded and therefore can choose any direction to attempt to get out of our predicament and improve our potential. I'm preaching from home again, more or less homebound by the multiple winter storms we are and have been having. Though we are far better off weather-wise than many people in many areas of the country, being fairly well stuck in the house on top of a year of being seriously isolated because of the pandemic, well, it's a bit disheartening. I have to fairly regularly give myself talkings to, reminding myself that things may feel bad, but things have been bad before in our history, and that things have in fact been worse, and that things are actually worse for many in our city, state, nation, and world. I have to remind myself of how blessed I am and keep working at helping others when and where I can to be blessed also. It's just one of many different kinds of reminders I must give myself, one of the multitude of directions from which I can attack in the course of living my life to the best of my ability. The topic for today's sermon and the title came from an experience I had recently that I have hesitantly decided to share with you. So here it is. I do not have the best teeth in the world. There, I've said it. I do not have the best teeth in the world, and also I am somewhat afraid of dentists. There are a number of reasons for these things, but the fact is, if your tendency is toward having dental problems, it is best if you are not also troubled with an undue fear of dentists. Alas. At any rate, I had found a dentist here in Memphis that I liked and trusted, but he became ill and had to give up his practice. So I spent longer than I should have without a dentist, finally finding a new dentist just a month or so ago. Just like that, I marched into his office, seated myself in his chair, was cleaned, x-rayed, and talked about in language I didn't understand by the dentist and his technician. Finally, the dentist paused and then said to me, "Well," he said, and another pause, You're fixable. To which I responded, "Oh, that's the nicest thing anyone has said to me in a long time." And so it went. At one point I said to him, "Well, I had hoped to pay down my mortgage," and he said, "Oh, it won't be as much as a house." What do I say about laughter being a spiritual practice? Anyway, I am now involved in what will likely be a lengthy course of dental care, which is just one area in which I must improve. There are so many. Let me tell you about a few more in case you may relate. I am a little tiny bit obsessive compulsive. Enough that my environment is generally well organized, but unfortunately not so OCD that it is always clean. I am a little germ phobic, but not enough to keep my house as clean as I would like, or as it probably should be. What else? Oh yes, I am motivated enough about my health that I have an elliptical machine upon which I have never once hung a single article of clothing. And let's see. I sometimes forego the Cheetos with my ice cream. And, well, you get it. I can attack my own character flaws from many different directions. But here are some of the tougher things for me. I can be judgmental. I am judgmental about what I believe to be wrong-headed thinking when it comes to politics, religion, criminal justice, child rearing, and a number of different aspects of our culture. And in some areas, not only am I judgmental, but I am angry, and sometimes even disrespectful, though I try to keep that mostly to myself. I can be sarcastic and cynical, but I do not just fully give in to those temptations. And I do try to overcome the anger, which is not usually helpful, unless, of course, it motivates me to some effort to change whatever is making me angry. Anger is a hard emotion to carry around. It steals a lot of energy and also generally just feels ugly to me. I have long had a habit of getting mad at other drivers, a common annoyance, I know. But I would get angry and think or even say out loud something sarcastic about their driving abilities or maybe even their basic humanity. Sometimes I would gesture, but always below the dash because, well, I'm angry, not stupid. But I didn't like thinking ill of so many people daring to share the roads with me, nor did I like the too common, though brief, moments of angry eruption when a driver did something I thought stupid. So I began intentionally adding to my angry, cynical outbursts at other drivers. I began adding to those outbursts this phrase, "and blessings on your day." "You dummy! Don't pull out in front of me and then go slow. What is wrong with you?" "And blessings on your day." I wanted to mean it about the blessings, and I do, a little. But mostly, it just makes me laugh. And laughter dissipates the anger, at least for me. And it also helps me to keep in mind that all people, even the ones whose values I dislike and whose driving infuriates me, are just trying to get through their days, just trying to navigate their life journeys, as am I. Few of us are freely hostile, hateful, and hurtful, though of course some folks are. But few of us really relish hurting others. Their wrong-headed, in my view, actions, words, and beliefs come from a place that serves them by way of helping them to feel safe, usually, or helping them feel communal, found, saved, rather than alone, lost, and threatened. I think we cannot overestimate the role of fear in the human species and how it drives us, all of us. As we've discussed before, fear is at the core of most anger. My anger at other drivers is because their actions made me feel, however briefly, a moment of danger. We almost immediately convert fear to anger because fear makes us feel powerless and anger powerful. And we'd rather feel powerful. It's important for me on my journey to diminish anger, judgment, cynicism, and sarcasm because rarely do those things serve me, and they do diminish the love I want to feel toward my fellow sojourners. That is my ideal. That is who I want to be. I want to be gentle with others and myself while still working to move all of us toward greater love, greater understanding, greater service, greater equality. That's what I want to stand for, and that's what I want to live toward. I want to live like the geese in our opening reading, encouraging one another, supporting one another, never leaving one another, when necessary, waiting for one another to overcome their own difficulties so they can once again fly. So we all can fly. Amen. And now let us move into a time of meditation, reflection, and prayer in spoken words and shared silence. Our spoken words for this morning's meditation are by Thich Nhat Hanh. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become wholly ourselves. Let us be aware of this source of being common to us all and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion towards ourselves and toward all living beings. Amen and amen. And until next week, blessed, blessed be.
Bells in the high tower, ringing o'er the white hills, mocking the winter, singing like a spring rills. Bells in the high tower, in the cold foretelling, the springs upwelling. Bells in the old tower, like the
Hello again, this is Bill with another video recap of the most recent meeting of the church board. We met via Zoom on February the 16th. The secretary will prepare the minutes for approval at our next meeting, but in the meantime, here's an informal recap of what happened. Before the meeting, we got written reports from the minister, the finance committee, the treasurer, and our director of religious exploration. We also got an oral report from Chelsea, our membership coordinator. The board had a very light agenda for this meeting. We only took up 3 items of business. First, the treasurer, Marcus, gave us an update on Neshoba's 2 payroll protection program loans. The first PPP loan was for about $14,000 that we got last spring. Marcus has applied for forgiveness of that loan. Although the loan forgiveness process has been slowed down and is taking a little longer than Marcus expected, we're still confident that forgiveness will be routinely granted. Last month, the board authorized Marcus to apply for a second PPP loan under the recent extension of that federal program. Marcus did that, and our second loan was approved for $26,243. We don't have that money yet, but Marcus expects that the wire transfer of those funds will hit our bank account any day now. When the time comes, Marcus will seek forgiveness of that second loan as well. If all goes as expected, Neshoba will have received over $40,000 in federal funding. The second item of business was a report from Reverend Beth. She told us that she has now completed the annual UUA certification. That's a process of submitting demographic and membership data that the UUA gathers from churches across the nation. The final item of business was a report from Kathy Hickok regarding our church directory. You may recall that the company that has produced our last 2 church directories has gone out of business. But as they were closing their doors, they offered Kathy an electronic version of the data that's in our directory. She now has that data in 2 formats. One is simply a PDF file, and the other is the same electronic information in a different file format. Kathy will be following up with ways to make use of that information. That was it for official actions taken. We'll meet again on March the 16th. You are welcome to drop in and join us at that time. Take good care.